Well, happy solar eclipse day, everybody. As we think a little bit more deeply about the sociology and the politics of scientific knowledge, I'd love for you today, in our discussion forum that I will have set up by the time this video comes live, I would love for you to gather some of the beliefs, or at least one of the ideas that you might have seen circulating around social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. I'd love for you to share something that somebody has been saying about today's eclipse, and it's fitting that we are having these discussions and you are taking this class during a time like this because it gives us a strong case that enables us to kind of analyze how the sociology of knowledge, sociology of science, and politics of science end up working. You may have noticed that there are politicians who have opined about the possible meaning of the eclipse. You'll have also noticed that you have some friends who believe some kinds of things, likely, who believe some kinds of things related to the significance or purpose or the meaning or the messages behind the solar eclipse. So I'm really interested in what your thoughts are about that. How it suggests that our sense of the world is kind of mediated largely by our social groups. Consider this, and this is something that you see in the readings for the sociology of science and the politics of science, is that most of the things that you believe, and that I believe, that we believe generally as human beings, most of it is because of what we have heard from somebody else. It's now there are of course some things that we believe because we simply observe them, we see them, or we've worked it out mathematically or logically. There are sometimes when that leads us to believe certain things. But many of our beliefs, arguably most of our beliefs, are come from other people who have told us things, right? Whether we've read it from what people have put on the web or in texts, or sometimes even in songs or other kinds of cultural media. We believe it because of that. Um, yeah, I believe it because of that. So we typically believe that. Rarely do we believe things because we have engaged in a kind of scientific methodical process to determine or test whether something is true. We very, very rarely believe things based on that. So consider that this seems to be our primary means of gaining knowledge. So also consider, much of the time when you do believe somebody, it's largely because you've accepted two things. You've accepted that the person telling you this, or the person from whom you got this knowledge, is has integrity. In other words, that person is not lying to you or is not trying to deceive you, right? You generally believe that about the person. Also, you believe that the person is generally reliable. In other words, the person really does have an accurate take on the reality of things. The person properly understands. But notice, both of those, either of those things could be false or not entirely true. People sometimes make mistakes in their own beliefs, and so they may be authentically telling you something and not trying to deceive you, but they may themselves be mistaken about something, right? So, in order to really believe somebody, you have to think that they are generally reliable, that they are not mistaken. And of course, most of the people we believe, we don't think that they're lying. We think that they are telling us some kind of truth. We think that they have our best interest in that respect in mind. So consider that. The eclipse is something interesting. Ask yourself this. Do you believe that there is going to be an eclipse today? Do you? And I mean, I do. But why? Is it because you've been tracking the predictable patterns of the moon and the sun? I don't think any of us has been doing that. And it's generally because we accept what astronomers tell us, and pretty much everybody we know. There's nobody who seems to disagree, including scientists and astronomers, but also including our peers. Everybody seems to believe that there's going to be an eclipse today, and that totality, at least in Cleveland, in the area where we are, the totality is going to be somewhat a little bit after 3 o'clock, right? So we generally believe that. All right, but again, none of us is an astronomer. None of us has carefully mapped or charted the patterns of the moon and the sun. So we believe these things for sociological reasons. Right? So some would argue, and you'll see this, you've seen this in the text, and you also see in the notes that I took based on the text, that this is the way science itself oftentimes works as well. It's just that in scientific communities, there's a specific rigid set of customs and rules that they generally mutually are supposed to follow, and from that they generate new kinds of knowledge or new knowledge from that. So some would say that the whole way that science works is through a sort of sociological process. Right? And of course, politically, it's important to consider the relationship between the scientific method and the values that we hold as human beings and as a society in general, politically. Okay, I didn't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to prompt you with a couple of things to consider related to the eclipse. And I wanted to encourage you, so for this, for the your activities related to sociology of science and politics of science, please on today's discussion board post a link to either a video that you've seen on any social media platform or a meme that you'll have seen related to the eclipse. That connects that talks to some sort of belief about the eclipse. One of the things that I posted, I'll share, is that I shared that one that you may have seen it, marked safe today from believing that the eclipse is anything other than the moon passing in front of the sun. Right? I mean, that's for me. I don't think that there's any special theological or teleological or social or political or metaphysical significance of the eclipse. I think it's just simply an pretty cool astronomical event, right? And of course, I'm going to watch it. So, but there are, and so that's what I'm going to post. I'll kick off our discussion by posting that meme, and I invite you to post your own memes and videos as well. But I'd like for you to do one more thing with those memes. I'd like for you to point out how those what those memes say, or what those opiners or those opinionators, those influencers say about why they believe certain things related to the eclipse. What is the reason that they give? If they don't necessarily give a reason, try to figure out what the reason is that they believe these certain things about the eclipse. All right. And then also, I would like for you to connect that in some way with some of the contents from this class and from our text, Theory and Reality, that connect to that in some way, that inform, that shed light on how people come to believe things like that. Right. So some of the contents from the sociology or the politics of science, I'd like for you to connect it to some of the course material. All right. And more importantly, enjoy the eclipse. I know that I will.